4th, 2022. Let me go ahead and copy this link into the Facebook group here. We're going to get rolling. All right. All right. Good morning. One more thing. Sorry. Let's do this. There we go. I had to change the layout. I didn't like what I was looking at there. All right. Good morning. July 24th, 2012. This is the Creative Q&A Roundtable. And this morning, I've got a little checklist here. I was gonna go off on a different topic this morning, but I did a little presentation this week at a local RIA, and there's one particular area of that, or one particular topic in that speech, or in that presentation, that I kind of watched the crowd's faces go a little blank, and they, I think they were a little bit shocked at what I was saying. Really, everything that we do in our coaching program, and really just our whole philosophy, really kind of flies in the face of a lot of traditional investing. So, we have to get creative. So what I wanted to talk about today was more about talking with sellers. Because if you go out there and you're watching YouTube or what have you, and you're watching people listening to what is taught, generally speaking, we have a lot of people out there that really push hard for closing sellers. Hold on a second here. This thing is really not participating with me. But we have a lot of people out there that are pushing super hard to, for this hard close on sellers. And I don't know. It's one of the reasons that I really love the creative side, because in my business, really, I am not I'm not even a very good salesman, if I'm really being honest. I'm just not I've never been thoroughly trained on how to be a closer, and it's just not my style. I don't like people putting pressure on me to make a decision, and I really don't want to do that to other folks either. And so when I talk to sellers, really the big key point that I would like to, or what the thing that I would like to emphasize, is that on the creative side, if I'm going to ask a seller to be a somewhat, like a long-term partner. So if I'm going to buy something subject to, well, my seller really needs to be on my team. They have to be 100% totally committed, because we're kind of becoming business partners. They're kind of a silent partner, but nevertheless, you're going to have a relationship with these folks for however long you're going to hold on to that property. And so I want to just quickly reiterate some things to avoid when you're talking to sellers. I mean, obviously you really gotta pick up on and engage what type of seller you're dealing with, like the personality style. And some sellers you have that are, they're super stiff and uptight. Some of them are really laid back. And I think you have to be the judge of that. You have to kind of adapt to that, and kind of build your pitch and build your offer around their personality style. So a couple things that I want to point out, or a couple things I want to offer as maybe a helpful way to start talking to sellers. And that's not actually what to do, but that is more things to avoid. And so like I said, a little bit different approach, a little bit different a little bit different way of dealing with sellers. So I've got my little checklist here. I just quickly want to go through these, and hopefully they help you out. I know they help me. Something that I always have to keep in mind when I'm talking to a seller. Something that I always run through right before, I get out of my car and I'm walking up to talk to a seller. These are just some of the real quick pointers. Number one is avoiding technicalities, meaning don't get technical with your sellers. It is first of all, you have to understand that sellers probably, 95, to close to 100% of these folks have never dealt with an issue like this. Like they most people are only going to buy and sell a house in their lifetime, maybe 3, 4, 5 times at the most. And so that's not a whole lot of exposure to the inner workings of a real estate deal. And so if you walk into a seller's living room and they ask you a question of, how does this work? It's very short, simple, very simple process. If you start getting super technical about it and you start spouting off about, title issues and how you remedy things, or maybe how you're taking title to the property, we use trust. We use trust a lot. In fact, it's very rare that we ever use anything other than a trust to take title. So if I were to walk in and I'm standing in their living room and they ask me how this happens, and if I go, well, I'll take title to this in a trust, and then there's going to be a trustee, and there's going to be beneficiaries, and then we're going to have you, we'll maybe have you sign over your beneficial interest. You are absolutely going to lose that seller. In most cases, most sellers do not understand the inner workings of a trust. So there's no reason to confuse them and potentially scare them away. So that's number one. Avoid getting technical. Simply tell them, this is just like any other sale, except that maybe we can move a little faster, or, you don't even have to throw that in. It could just be, this is just a typical sale. There's nothing complicated about this at all. If you've bought and sold a house before, it's exactly what's going to happen here. So keep it super simple. This is I don't know how many of you have ever showed up at an appointment. You might have another investor sitting there, and you start hearing you hear the conversation between, well, it's an investor or a wholesaler, let's say, and you start hearing this conversation about that maybe they're having with another wholesaler that's there. And I know it's happened to me a few times, but there are people that might be book smart, but that maybe have really not communicated very well in the past with sellers, or maybe they're new in the business or something like that. So I would say, don't fake it until what's the word? Don't fake it till you make it. Everybody's heard that saying. I wrote it down here, so I've got bullet points, but don't fake it till you make it. I would, especially if you're going to be making creative offers, I would definitely, the best way to avoid looking like a fool is to understand this process inside and out. And the best way you can do that is, obviously just is to learn and study and be learning every day about creative financing, whether that be subject to or seller carry, however you're approaching this particular deal. You got to look like a professional when you're talking about this, because this stuff is a little more technical than just your average cash offer type deal. Anybody can go in and give a cash offer, anyone. But not everyone can make an offer that is coherent, coherent is the word I'm looking for. It's got to be a coherent offer that everybody clearly understands. So my advice there is to go out and get the proper training, pick up all the material you can on creative financing, and really understand the process. They're going to see right through you anyway. Guarantee it. Most sellers are going to get an intuition about you if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you're, if you're doing this, and if your eyes get big, you're looking around, they're going to know. So, best advice I can give is to definitely go out there and start learning about these different strategies and nail them. You got to get them down. So, next one. Under promise and over deliver. A lot of us, I'm sure a lot of us have heard that saying before, but it is so true. You never want to put, like, for example, you never want to put anything in writing that you know for a fact that you're not going to be able to deliver on. So if you're going to make a promise to somebody, make sure that you can deliver on it. In fact, make sure that promise comes in just below what you know you can actually deliver. That way, it's a nice, that way, number one, you're protecting yourself, right? You're protecting yourself from maybe even possible legal issues down the road. But secondly, if you over deliver on that promise, I mean, that's just gonna bolster your reputation, and it's actually gonna help you feel better. It's gonna help you, it's gonna encourage you to go out and continue to do this. So, but yeah, I mean, sorry, I got distracted for a second. Yeah, like this is a perfect example. I had to look at some bullet points here on my screen, but perfect example is, I'm dealing with a property right now where, I've told the seller that, hey, it's a seller finance deal. It's a free and clear property, seller finance deal. And I've asked the seller, hey, can I have 5 years? I'd like to have 5 years at least to be, as a balloon payment, 5 years to be able to pay this thing off or refinance it or whatever. My goal is not to go 5 years. I would like to get that done in 3, maximum 3. But I'm telling him 5. Because, if I can deliver that in 3, by the way, this guy's got other properties. He's got other properties he wants to sell. But if I can deliver on that promise, then, you think he's going to do business with me in the future, or you think he's going to recommend me to someone else out there who might have a property for sale? I think that's a pretty good chance of it. There's no guarantees, but it's just a good way to live. It's just, it's a good way to run your business. All right. So I have in my presentation I did this past week, I have a slide in there that says, it's basically how to make your life a living hell. And number 1 is make promises that you can't keep. We just covered that. Number 2, this is a big one. Because everyone's taught, I think, that we have to have this big sales pitch, and we get so nervous about talking to sellers that we think we have to have this this script written out. And don't get me wrong, scripts are good to have. It's good to be able to memorize the script, but it's just in my experience, I've never had a conversation truly go exactly the way I planned it anyway. So really, it's just understanding what your pitch is, the meaning behind your pitch, and then you just kind of, and really just it has to do with getting in the reps, right? So if you want to make your life a living hell, reserve your very best sales pitch for your meeting with your seller. And again, I go back to the beginning of this conversation of our sellers need to be on our team. They are part of our team. We, in fact, give our sellers homework. We give them homework. We have to. That's how we get them on board with us. It helps them to realize that we are actually making an effort to get their property sold. And so this goes back to what I said about by being a closer. You don't have to be a closer here to do this. It's so much simpler to be able to be transparent and apply the effort towards bringing those folks onto your team. And so you don't have to come in with a super strong sales pitch or anything like that. You just have to have a good idea and a good understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. So you don't have to be a closer here. Guilt tripping your seller into signing your contract. I've actually seen this happen. And I mean, it's self-explanatory. You told me you were gonna sign my contract. None of that stuff flies. But you do not want this seller, even if that seller did sign that contract, you're not going to want this seller as a partner for any length of time, because it's going to be, quite frankly, a total pain in the ass, and that's just not going to be fun. It's not going to be a good relationship for the long term. So, guilt tripping them into signing a contract or scaring them, a scare tactic might be, well, if you don't sign my contract, I'll take you to court or something like that. I can sue you for specific performance and all that stuff. That's not what we do, especially on the creative side, when you're trying to build trust and rapport and respect and all that good stuff. So another big one, probably the biggest one, probably the biggest bullet point that I have for you, or best piece of advice I have for you today, is never do a deal with a litigious seller. So if you're having a conversation, you're standing in the living room and you've presented this idea, you're starting to present your offer, and if your seller mentions anything about possibly suing you, or they have a brother who's an attorney that he knows about this stuff and all this stuff, I turn around and I turn tail. I don't like to deal with litigious people at all. It can really make your life a living hell for sure. So that is really all I think it's really all I've got for this video. But it's more along the lines of things to avoid versus things that you go, advice on what to do when you're talking to sellers. If you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about things that you can do or things that you can improve upon, I would start with knowledge first. I'm not a professional speaker or anything of that sort at all. But standing up giving a presentation this past week, I know the material, and so I am super comfortable. The worst part of giving of doing that presentation was breaking the ice, the introductions and all that stuff. That's the worst part of it. But since I know the material so well, it became super simple for me to stand up in front of those folks and give that presentation. And it's the same thing. That same confidence transfers over to speaking with sellers. I have zero problems these days, and like I said, it's just getting the reps in. It's just it's number one, learning the topics and the learning the process, and then number two, it's just getting the reps in and talking about it over and over and over again. And if you can do that, I am 100% confident that you can start doing these creative deals and structuring deals that a lot of your competition, or I don't know if competition is the right word, but a lot of other investors are not going to understand this stuff. So quick recap. Quick recap. Get the knowledge that you need. I mean, don't, I wouldn't spend too much time on YouTube. I would actually go out and get, if you're an audiobook person, go out and get some audiobooks on creative financing. You got to learn this. You got to learn this stuff. This just doesn't come to most people naturally. you can always check us out over at Sub2 Empire, and we do have the Creative Financing Academy, and so you can check that out. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one. So thank you very much for joining me. If we have any questions, please post them in the comment section below. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, it does take me a little bit longer to get to those comments, but I will get to them eventually. So go ahead and leave some comments down there. And that's it. Thanks a lot for joining me. Take care.